Sup fams, you're tuned in to the channel Eves. I'm your host, EEPMON, episode 86. So, I continue to read Rick Rubin's The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And this chapter, I always go back to it. It's called Nothing is Static. And let me read this short chapter to you all and what I have to say about that. The world is always changing. You can engage in the same awareness practice 5 days in a row in the same location and have a unique experience each time. Different sounds and different smells may be present. No two gusts of wind feel quite the same. The tone and quality of sunlight changes from minute to minute and day to day. Within the richness of nature, the variations are easily noticeable. Some are shouts, others whispers. Even if an element seems static, whether a work of art in a museum or an everyday object in a kitchen, when we look at it deeply, we can see a newness. We recognize aspects unnoticed before. We read the same book over and over, and we'll likely find new themes, undercurrents, details, and connections. You can't step into the same stream twice because it's always flowing. Everything is. The world is constantly changing, so no matter how often we practice paying attention, there will always be something new to notice. It's up to us to find it. Likewise, we are always changing, growing, evolving. We learn and forget things. We move through different moods, thoughts, and unconscious processes. The cells in our body die and regenerate. No one is the same person all day long. Even if the world outside were to remain static, the information we took in would still be ever changing. And so too with the work we bring forth. And they always end a little bit of a quote, and it says, the person who makes something today isn't the same person who returns to the work tomorrow. This whole book hits me like a ton of bricks. So on point. Now, how I feel about this chapter, Nothing is Static by Rick Rubin. Well, folks, on point. In this nothing in this world ever stays the same. For those who think that, I like things to be stable, I like things to be peaceful, the way things are, don't change a thing, is completely naive and ignorant by just focusing on a very narrow band of reality. Everything changes, folks. Just like what the author said. Our cells regenerate, they die. One day we notice the leaves ruffle in the wind one way and the other does something else. We notice the shadow being cast by the sun while it's setting in these really interesting ways. Every day is different. Now, take this into more day-to-day reality. Like, for society, like, I find what's interesting is that society has a very hard time in embracing uncertainties and the unknowns. But shouldn't we celebrate it? Shouldn't we celebrate the fact that change is good? Change is healthy. We need change in order to progress, in order to innovate, in order to create, in order to diversify. Yet, at the same token, for some reason, society has been fed the idea that keeping things the way they are is the best thing. But if you think about it, and this is what I'm just thinking out loud, it's more like the system is keeping is sending this sort of message to keep society complacent. Perhaps we need a certain level of complacency and status quo and obedience so that society does not revolt or go into chaos, maybe. I don't know. But more and more, as much as we like to think that keeping things the way they are is a good thing, look around, people, right? Have you noticed? I've been noticing, very well aware in my surroundings, that things aren't looking so status quo. You know? Things are falling through the cracks. And it turns out that a system that was supposed to keep us in check is unsustainable. And we are seeing the results. I don't need to mention it, but you could see it around you. You could see the issues that are at play, whether it's within a local level or national level or international level, right? The wars that are happening, the financial markets that are in response to a lot of the macro factors of our society, the economy, of course, right? And of course, the economy, the inflation, the system that benefits the few. So we're starting to see the cracks, folks. I mean, they're out in the open. But what are you supposed to do? Keep things the way they are? Not sure if I'm not sure if that narrative is working anymore. So whether we like it or not, nothing is ever static. Nothing. And as much as we feel that we want to keep things the same, I feel that that's just a false flag. I always have this saying, this too shall pass. Which is why I think us artists are probably the most volatile. Or I find that we're very attuned to these things. We can sense it, the changes, the fluctuations. And in some ways, amusing. We're amused by how flawed the system can be. I mean, it's beyond our control to really handle, and we don't have all the answers. But as I mentioned in my previous episodes, and even this book talks about, that we artists, we deal in the magic realm. And in many ways, artists are like truth seekers. We seek the truth through the facades, layers and layers of facades. Because we're the most volatile. We have to be innovative to navigate through the system. And through that, we find ourselves observing, confronting, witnessing the patterns that are at play. So, this is a fantastic book. a lot of philosophy in here that I really connect with. I could probably do a whole like every day talk about each chapter and my impression and my interpretation based on what he's talking about. But nothing ever stays the same, folks. It's up to us to find it. Up to us to really focus and be aware of what's happening all around us. Not just all around us, but also in us. I hope you find my talk interesting. I hope it gave you some insight. I hope it made any sense. But I do enjoy talking about these sort of existential discussions because we need to talk more about this. Not about like typical day-to-day job affairs, blah, blah. But it's good to like step back, look at our life, look at our existence, and knowing that we too shall pass. We too, not this too shall pass, we too shall pass. So for those who are just feeling really, in the thick of it, in the grand scheme of things, folks, the planets will always revolve around the sun, and the sun will continue to revolve around with amongst the stars, fellow stars, around the galaxy, because that's the way things are. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. Like and subscribe. Have a great evening. Have a great afternoon. Have a great morning, wherever you are in the world. This is the Channel Eves episode 86 about existential reality and life, and that nothing ever stays the same. Until tomorrow, bye-bye.